from the royal graveyard in what is called the Caracas Royal Graveyard. And this is called the Chongo skull because that area is known as Chongos. And we will look at this, and in my opinion, this is definitely not cranial boarding or cranial deformation. There's only one parietal.
今日はミスター LA マズーリとの対談です。世の中が変わります。20年に及ぶ UFO 研究で私は彼が一番情報を持っていると確信します。その情報は超リアルです。しかしアメリカ政府も主要メディアも彼には近づきません。理由は今後エイリアン関係で起こるべきシナリオが明らかになってしまうからです。大体おかしいと思いませんか？アメリカ議会で頻繁に行われる UFO 公聴会、トランプ大統領の情報開示命令、FOX ニュースなどが毎日のように UFO のニュースを報じてます。そこへ来て最後極めつけはスピルバーグの映画、また去年はダン・ファラー氏の映画もありました。何かが来ようとしているわけです。そこには驚くべきシナリオがある可能性があります。このインタビューはそれを明らかにしてまいります。お楽しみに。今、LA マズーリ氏のストリーミングが99セント、160円でご覧いただくことができます。Hello everybody, we have a special guest for today, Mr. LA Mazzuri from California. LA is, I've been following him for over 10 years, and then he did around 10 videos, 10 movies, and then each of them are so impacting, very detailed for the aliens, UAP, UFOs. So yes, right, exactly.
And you can watch them online, folks.
Yes. And then you are like providing these for like $100 or 99 cents right now?
Yeah, not $100, but 99 cents. You can watch any film for 99 cents.
Wow.
Of the UFO. Yeah. And the reason why we did this, Hiro, was because all this UFO stuff is coming down. And there's no excuse. If you can't afford 99 cents, then, there's something wrong here, right? I mean, that's chump change. Most people spend $8, $9, $10 at Starbucks over here for a stupid cup of coffee. So I don't want to hear it. So for $10, you can watch all 10 films, 99 cents each. But we did it deliberately because we want to get the information out. We are the only Christian ministry that actually talks about this. We have 2 films on Roswell. That's a piece of the metal that we actually took out of the ground at the debris field in Roswell, New Mexico.
Right.
That's the palm of my hand. That's the piece of metal.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a film on close encounters of the first, second, third, and fourth kind. The experts weigh in. More further evidence. More people talk about what's going on. The abduction phenomenon is number 4. Number 5 is cattle mutilations. Number 6 is crop circles. 7 and 8 are 2 films on Roswell. Finally, 9 and 10, what is the truth? I sit down with people like the late Nick Pope, George Norrie, others who come on the record and say, we're being visited by extraterrestrials. Then on the other side of the aisle, the Christian men that I interview say, no, these are interdimensional entities, transdimensional raiders, as Gary Spearman likes to call them. So there's 10 films, and you can stream them, streaming.lamarzulli.net,
Right.
streaming.lamarzulli.net. And by the way, that's real. That's That's the Convergaz UFO, and you can see the 2 entities right here. Those are graves.
Yes. Right, I can see that. Yeah, I have a question. You were mentioning that the UAPs and UFOs are basically bolt and nuts product.
Yes.
And then, it moves against the law of physics, basically.
Correct.
Like, weird movement.
Right.
And then how those entities survive with those, like, I saw like, UFO and UAP are somehow has a spiritual aspect. What would you say? That is that fully Bolton?
Well, there's physicality to these. And what people don't, this is from Bob Lazar, there's a gravity wave, which is moving the craft through space and time. So it can make a right angle turn. It can accelerate because there's no gravity. That's what's going on, according to Bob Lazar. And that makes perfect sense. The problem that Christians have is we have a very truncated view of the supernatural. And this is the one scripture I point people to immediately. So 2 Kings, right? 2 Kings chapter 6. What does it say? So you have the prophet Elisha and his servant Gehazi, and they are surrounded by the Syrian army. And Gehazi's freaking out. He thinks he's going to die. And I get it. Who wouldn't, right? So Elisha says, Lord, open his eyes, and boots Gehazi out of a tent. Gehazi goes out, and what does he say? I saw the chariots of fire, right?
Yes.
Surrounding Elisha. What is the chariot of fire? So you go back thousands of years ago, there's nothing that these things are not called UFOs or UAPs or flying saucers. That doesn't happen to the mid 20th century.
Right.
So, or in the Fatima apparitions, I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. That's what people see, a dull silver disc. That's what they describe it as, because there's nothing in 1917 with the Fatima apparitions. And by the way, before I give you the punchline, let me show you something. This is a real photograph that we published. We broke the story on this. This is from Fatima, from the King's photographer, Joshua Benolio. It became the cover for Fatima 2. Right there. There's the disc right there.
Oh, I see. Right.
And see, this is the people, 1917. That disc is directly over the apparition site.
I see.
Directly over. So we have eyewitness testimony that said, I looked up and saw a dull silver disc. So let's get back to Gehazi. Gehazi sees this thing, and he doesn't know how to describe it. So the apex mode of transportation thousands of years ago is a chariot. So, okay, something is moving. It's a chariot. And what does he have for light? There are no incandescent light bulbs, nothing like it's in my studio or your studio. They have oil lamps, torchlight, and fire, campfires. That's it. So he looks up, this thing's all lit up and it's moving. It's a chariot of fire. It's just like this. When the two cherubim are placed in the east gate in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Between the two cherubim is a flaming sword that turns every which way. So if the cherubim aren't sitting there wielding the sword is turning by itself. What does this sound like to you? Voo, 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 voo. In modern day vernacular, we would say, oh, look, it's a lightsaber.
Right.
Sword is a lightsaber. That's what we would call it. And I realize I'm being a little glib here, sort of tongue in cheek, but in essence, that's what it is. So there's technology throughout the biblical prophetic narrative, but the church overlooks it. I'll give you one more. What is the breastplate of the high priest? Where you've got the 12 stones and they light up. These stones light up, in my opinion. The Urim and the Thummim, they light up. What is the Ark of the Covenant? What is that pillar of fire that guides the Israelites? You know, fire is all throughout the Bible. So the supernatural world, we've got a very truncated view of it. It's very complex, very complex.
Right, like Ezekiel saw like
Same thing. What is Ezekiel seeing? This thing is coming at him, right? I mean, it's, in my opinion, and Father God's in it, and the cherubim are there. He rides on the backs of the cherubim. How does all that work? We don't know. But there is technology, absolutely. In the look, think about this. What is the New Jerusalem? If that's not technology on steroids, I don't know what is. A 1,500-mile wide and length and high city that descends. It doesn't go boom. It descends. There's got to be some sort of anti-gravity device in it. And how do they? How does that foundation span structurally 1,500 miles? I mean, think about the structural tolerances that you got to create something that's 1,500 miles high. The thing is huge, absolutely huge. How does that work? And who's building it? And what are they building it from? You know, when it says streets of gold, you know, is that literal? In my opinion, it is. Maybe gold is as common as, you know, iron. I don't know. I've never been there, but that's what it says, and that's what I'm going with, a literal interpretation of it.
Right. Thank you very much. And then I just want to ask some of the things about the new movie came out. Here in Japan, only Japan will be like, you know, shown from October 1st or something.
So we have nobody saw that like Spielberg's new film. And then you have already watched that movie?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Timothy Alberino said like it's kind of like a cheap movie, actually, he said with the review. But what would you say for
I would say it's one big chase scene from the beginning to the end. It's one big chase scene. But in that chase scene, and you got to pay close attention, Spielberg is unpacking it and giving us the information. And in one of the interviews, which was actually the third trailer, Steven Spielberg states, I used to think to myself, wouldn't it be great if, the American people found out that all this was true? Then it cuts away to another part of the film. Then Spielberg comes back on camera and he looks right at the camera and he says, "It's all true." So what he's telling us is those little vignettes. That's why you got to pay real close attention. All those little vignettes, a lot of what he has in that film are either reenactments of the real deal, like the Roswell event, which he shows, and the bodies being carried, which he shows. So are they reenactments? More than likely, but they're based on something. What are they based on? That we don't know. That's conjecture. Did he see film that was kind of grainy and really couldn't use it, and then he just recreated it? Very possible, but we don't know.
I see. So you think it will give big impact to public, basically, you would say.
I think it's preparing the public for full disclosure. It's another. So let's walk through it. Last year, 2025, you had Age of Disclosure.
Right.
Dan
I know.
Farrer's fantastic documentary film. And you've got United States senators, congressmen, scientists, physicists,
Exactly.
one-star
Right.
admiral generals, all look at the camera in the very beginning of the film and say, "We are not
Right.
alone. We are not
Right.
alone in the universe. I have
Right.
seen with my own eyes extraterrestrial craft and bodies that are not from this earth." So all that is, and then the movie is unpacked, and all these people are stating on the record that we are not alone in the universe. So this led to our Deception 2026 rebuttal of that, where we had 10 pastors and authors and researchers come on the
Right.
record. And
Right.
for $19.99, it's hours and hours of information. You can go to our website, lamarzulli.com, and watch it right on your computer online. See, this is where everything's changing. The old school is DVDs. So if you're in Japan, how do you get a DVD? The shipping cost is absurd.
Right.
But once I put this online, just like I did with all of our films, right? So,
Right.
so Hero, you can go to streaming.lamarzulli.net for
Right.
99 cents. You can watch
Yes.
number 4 on abductions. It's amazing. The world has just gotten really small.
Right. Thank you very much. I would like to ask a little bit about the Nephilim. And then you had like skulls of like a lot of like Nephilims. And then you mentioned like that there are like a few female Nephilim. Is that true?
No, I don't believe there are female Nephilim.
Oh,
What you're
really?
referring to, this is a model it's a model. It's a
It's a
cast.
model.
Yeah, that the
Yes.
late Joe Taylor created, but it's a one-to-one cast. And we've had this looked at by doctors, archaeologists, anthropologists, everybody. Come on the record, surgeons, and they all say whatever this is not a human being. The orbits, the eyes here are about 20 to 25% larger than a normal human being. The zygomatic arch right here, very pronounced. The jaw, very robust. These are sutures right here that normal skulls have. There should be a suture.
Oh,
like you
right.
see right here.
Sender.
Yeah, which goes back like this.
Mm-hmm.
Would be the sagittal suture. The
Exactly.
smoking gun is from Rick Woodward, our anthropologist. So here you see the back of a skull. That's the foramen magnum. If it's any further back, it's outside the skull, completely outside the skull. So you can't move the foramen magnum. It's done in utero when the child, or in this case the hybrid, is in the womb. This foramen magnum should be here in the center of the skull. It's not. It's all the way back. We are the first people that I'm aware of to actually look at the Chongo skull in Peru, the very long skull. Huge
Right.
skull. and it's in our film, number 6, the DNA. And we were at the museum, and the museum was closed because we were
Right.
taking DNA samples. And again, this is number 6 in On the Trail of a Nephilim, streaming at LAmarzulli.net. You can see it for yourself. And she goes in, the docent in the museum, and they're there with the museum director, and they go in and they roll back the display case. They remove the Chongo skull out of the display case, and then we go turn it over. They turn it over, and the foramen magnum is all the way in the back. So you can't, wrap a baby's skull and move the foramen magnum. You can't do it. And this to me is a smoking gun. That plus the DNA evidence, which we did, shows that they all come, not all, but many of these entities come from the Middle East. They're about 3,000 years old, which fits the timeline of a diaspora. When Joshua and Caleb go in and press the conquest of Canaan, the
Right.
Nephilim tribes are there. There's a diaspora. They flee the Levant. They go all through the Mediterranean, and I've island hopped. I've been to Malta and Gozo, Sardinia, Sicily, the Balearics, finally up into Spain, Menga, Spain, the largest dolmen on the planet. Well, not the large on the planet, but in Europe, it's the largest, okay? Portugal, where these ancient megalithic sites are. Finally, going into France and seeing the standing stones that are there, the remnants of 80,000 standing stones, Karnak, France, then into the UK, Stonehenge, England,
Right.
the Long Barrows and other places. We've filmed there, we've been there. So all this is really interesting. And in my opinion, when they're in England, they go to Ireland. From Ireland, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump, and they're in the New World. America Stonehenge, 4,000-year-old site, which shows a connectivity to Stonehenge, England. And that's all in our films. So what I'm saying here, Hero, there's a corpus of work. There's 34 films and 16 books. 16. Number 16 will be out in the late fall. So what people need to understand is, we have an hour together. And the DVDs, especially the UFO DVDs, are 99 cents a piece. I'm thinking about actually lowering all the DVDs that we have because we want people to see them. And people,
Yes.
people balk at $5, but 99 cents, no worries. They'll do that all day long. So that's the deal.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your
Thank you, Hero. Thank
dedication
you.
for the industry. I saw some of the Sid Roth show, like way back 10 years. You were on Sid Roth. And then
Yes.
you mentioned like a female skull is like a little bit smaller than the male skull. That's what I remember. Oh, you didn't
No, I
say?
don't think so. I don't know whether there are female Nephilim. That's something I just don't know. Some people say yes, some people say no. I don't know.
I see.
The small skull that we showed there is what we call the baby skull. It was
Right.
it was a 1,935-year-old skull, which we unwrapped at Senior Wan's Museum. Thank you, Brian Forrester, for hooking us up there. And so we unwrapped it. The late Joe Taylor did the mold of it. And then Aaron Judkins, who was our archaeologist at the time, was there, and he also weighed in on it. But we did DNA testing on this particular artifact. We took samples, hair, bones, skin, and sent them to 3 different labs. And all 3 came back with the haplogroup U2E1, which is Eastern Europe, which rewrites history because it's basically a 2,000-year-old skull. And what's it doing with European DNA? Shouldn't be there. But
Right.
the academics don't like that. And,
Sure.
no,
Right.
because it rewrites history. But nevertheless, the data shows, and that's why we went back and we did more testing with 58 samples or 56 samples. And we already talked about that. That's in our film on DNA. So it's hard science. It's, people can disparage it. They can call us all sorts of names, but look at the data. The data speaks for itself. The data is there.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
I don't care what you call me, but you can't dispute the data. And the
Right.
data, in my opinion, is conclusive.
Definitely. So we assume that there comes great deception to the public as well as like a Christianity. So the Bible basically says like a great deception and then great fall away. So how actually do you think it will come to deceive mass people?
This is number 18. Okay, rungs of disclosure, we have 18, and 18 is the top rung, which I think is this. There's going to be a nuclear event that happens somewhere on the planet. All it takes is one nuke, and that's the game changer. We're all hooked up. It's
I
not
agree.
it's not like it used to be. We're all hooked up. If in Russia over the weekend, over June 19th, just a couple of days ago, was threatening to use nukes. I'm not making this up. It's in the new book. Was threatening the use of nukes. If they're pushed in, they will use them. And this isn't the first time that they've saber rattled like that. You have a nuclear device going off anywhere on the planet. It creates the greatest climate of fear that humanity has ever known. That's when, in my opinion, this is conjecture, that's when they show up. Because, yeah, that's when they show up. And the people that apostatize, the question is, some will leave the faith. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. The Spirit expressly states that from the latter days, some will depart from the faith. And
Right.
there's two schools of thought on this. If you're a Calvinist, then you can't possibly depart from the faith because you're sealed. If you're an Arminian, then you say, no, it's free will. I can leave if I want to. So it's very complex, and people are on both sides of the aisle. I personally think that it's not either or, it's both and. And I'll tell you the reason why. This is so unprecedented that even the elect would be deceived if that were possible.
Right.
We don't understand the severity of what's coming. I believe, look, I've got, 34 films and 16 books, and much of it is on UFOs and the Nephilim and the supernatural world. That's our wheelhouse. Could I be deceived? No, because I've written about it. Could
Right.
someone at a denomination that's not born again and spirit filled be deceived? Yes, absolutely. And the Bible talks about, those who left, they were really never part of us. So there's this whole, and I don't want to start picking on denominations here. I'm not going
Right.
to go there. But there are denominations where people sit in the pews, they're not born again and spirit filled. They don't even know what that means. They don't, if you, are you born again and spirit filled? I'm born again and spirit filled. That happened 46 years ago. And I get it. But the majority of so-called Christians are not born again and spirit filled. And
Right.
that is a prerequisite, not from LA Marzulli, but from Jesus, who says, unless you're born again, you cannot see the kingdom of heaven. So what is being born again? And spirit filled. That's what changes a person. So you've got a lot of people sitting in pews in different denominations who are not born again and spirit filled. Are they the ones that depart from the faith? And we don't know
Right.
if we're still here when this happens.
Right.
We'll find
Right.
out very quickly.
I see. I see. Do you have any like message for Japanese people? You mentioned a few times about Japan in your film. I mean, like in your shows. So, what's your impression for Japan?
Well, Japan is a mystery. You know that. You've lived there all your life.
Exactly. Right.
There are places that are very mysterious in Japan. But Japan is isolated and was isolated really until the 19th century, well, the
Mhm.
17th century, pretty much isolated. And your culture is completely foreign to the culture that we have in the United States, even though some Japanese people have embraced Western ways, but it's a very, very structured culture. And, my hat is off to the Japanese people. I've studied some of Japan, and I've always been fascinated by it. Just the structure, the social structure, what Japanese children are taught at a very young age. Well, they're not taught that over here in the States. They're not taught
Mhm.
common courtesy. They're not taught that. Where in Japan that's a big deal because it's a social order. And
Right.
that social order has eroded somewhat in Japan because of the Western influence, which has
Mhm.
come in, unfortunately. But I would love to come at some point.
Yeah,
Whether
please.
I'm 76 this year in December, so I'm getting up there, and travel has become incredibly onerous, burdensome. So whether I'll make it into the East, I don't know. I've been all over Europe and South America, all over the United States, some parts of Canada. And again, there's like a corpus of work, 34 films, 16 books. And I got to tell you, Hero, in some ways, I'm kind of winding down. This last book, number 16, I sent it up. It'll go up to my editor at Charisma July 1st. It'll be there. And then I think I'm done. This is the new novel, 20 years in the making. First novel in 20 years.
Wow.
It's set up for a sequel, and people love it. Absolutely love it. The feedback, 5 stars on Amazon. It's been incredible. So, and when it debuted at number 1. And so, we'll see what the Lord does with it. I would write a sequel to that, but in some ways, I think, I'm winding down.
I see.
Yeah, we're not doing conferences anymore. I canceled 16 conferences in 2025. And so far this year, we did the Prophecy Watchers Conference. That more than likely is going to be it. I did fly into Nashville and Knoxville a couple of days ago, and I filmed shows there at Tony Merkel's, The Confessionals, and then Taylor Welsh's show, The Deep End. We did 3.5 hours with Taylor. So I'm doing that. And then on the 6th of July, I'll be flying to Dallas to do TV shows, actually 4 of them, on Daystar. So that's the best use of our time. You go to a conference, there's 300 or 400 people. I do a daily show on YouTube. We've got 279,000 subscribers, and thousands of people go there every day. So I do a show 5 days a week. So that's better use of our time, I think, and resources.
I see. Can I mention very interesting thing about Japan a little bit?
Please.
LA? We have like more than 3,000 words very similar to Hebrew, actually. The pronunciation and meaning are the same. And then 40% of Japanese has some like a similar DNA with the Jewish people. So that there is some like interesting connection in the old-time history after like Jews were relieved by Babylonian.
Yes.
Some tribe could come over to Japan.
Yeah.
And then became like an imperial, like a family line, because the family tree that represent Japanese imperial system is actually, I don't think it's really the same thing, but very similar to the Jacob's family line, the family situation, like a brothers and sisters, like, structure. So there seems to be something very secret about Japan.
Very interesting.
Isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Very interesting.
Right. So I will send some like material over to you.
Please, thank you.
Yeah. And then also, do you follow some of the calendars? Or what would you say? Like, it's a very critical time period right now.
Well, without even following the calendars, we just look at biblical prophecy, and we can see Israel is back in its land. It's flourishing. It's surrounded by nations that hate it. All the prophecies that were written are getting ready to come to pass. I think we're looking the Ezekiel 38, 39 war. That could be happening very soon. People disagree on that. But the fact that Israel is back in its ancient homeland, May 14th, 1948, that kicks off the end times. Thank you, Hal Lindsey and others who promulgated that. So we are in the last of the last days. If you're an amillennialist that doesn't take the Bible literally, then just none of this matters. But if I'm a dispensationalist, a charismatic dispensationalist. So I look at everything and I believe it's literal. When Amos 9, 14, 15 says this, I will bring back the captives of my people Israel. They will build the waste cities and inhabit them. They will plant vineyards and drink the wine from them. They will also plant gardens and eat the fruit from them. I will plant them in their land, and never again will they be plucked up out of a land I have given them, says the Lord your God. That's thousands of years old. It was fulfilled in 1948. I got this next part from Rabbi Jason Sobel, who stated on the record that when Israel declared its sovereignty as a nation, May 14th, 1948, that scripture, Amos 9, 14 and 15, was being read in every single synagogue throughout the world because they're all linked up. They're all
Right.
hooked. They all read from the same passage of Torah and then the rest of the Tanakh. So isn't that interesting? And
Yeah.
that's the hand, that's the finger of God. That is the finger of God all day long. That's not a coincidence. So
Exactly.
prophecy is there. We need to take it literally. Most people don't. Most Christians don't. And there's another huge flaw. If it's all allegory, then how do you make sense of anything? You can't. How do you make sense of Amos 9, 14, and 15? If you're an amillennialist, they believe that the church is in the millennial age. And I don't believe that for a minute. We are in the age of grace, but we're moving towards the time of Jacob's trouble, the
Yes,
seventh
yes.
tribulation period. That's where we're headed. And now we're starting to see signs and wonders. You know, Jesus warns us there'll be wars and rumors of war. Check. Just look what's going on now.
Exactly.
Famines, pestilence. Look at the
Yes.
Ebola crisis, right? You know,
True.
earthquakes in diverse places, through the roof. Troublesome times. Men faint for fearful is coming upon the earth. So, Hero, we are in a window of time, in my opinion, is absolutely unprecedented.
Right, right. But any time the tribulation could start, I feel. And then one more question, LA. Do angels need the UFO, you think? Or they have, they need it?
Well, they don't need it, but they can use it. And this is,
that's
see,
funny. Interesting.
this goes back to our first question with the New Jerusalem. How does that work?
Right.
Right? How does
Yeah.
that work when Elijah sends Gehazi out and Gehazi goes, I saw the chariots of fire around Elisha. So there's technology. Absolutely, there's technology in the Bible. And so that's where we are.
I see, I see. Some people say like, angels shouldn't need that, like,
Well, I know, but that's because let me ask you this. In the book of Revelation, it says Michael and his angels fight with the devil and his angels, and the devil and his angels are cast to earth. How do they fight? We don't know. We're not told. But they can't be killed, but they can be wounded because they're immortal beings. How do they show up when they're finally cast to earth? What does that look like? And nobody knows. But they fight, and I believe that they can be wounded. I believe angels, good and bad, can be wounded because Michael's fighting. Somehow they're fighting, and Michael overcomes.
Right.
Hero, it's complex, and nobody's got all the answers, and some of it's hidden. Some of it's hidden from us. But I gave you examples of technology that's found in the Bible. The New Jerusalem is a perfect example. Somebody has built it or is in the process of building that huge city, 1,500 miles in length, 1,500 miles in width, 1,500 miles high. I think it's a pyramid, but I don't know how the structural calculations for something like that. What kind of material is it being used?
Right.
We don't know. How does it descend from the heavenly realm into us? It just doesn't go boom. So there's technology that's there. And unfortunately, most of the church doesn't look at it that way.
Right. Right. I think this is what I assume that maybe the disclosure day mentions that we should be like resonate together. And then some do they show like a gray aliens, kind of like a friend, kind of like a close type of
Spielberg has flipped the script. He's flipped it. So the aliens are the good guys, we're the bad guys. That's essentially what it is.
I see. But what I feel is like those like a gray alien turns out show themselves as a kind of like evil guys, and then maybe the like a Nordics, like a white looking, like a tall white
Tall white
aliens will interrupt us to show their
I mean,
guys.
all I know is this, Hero, what is coming is unprecedented. what is coming will change everything, and do it like that.
The
Very quick.
nuclear incident that you mentioned.
That I believe is the trigger. That's the trigger.
Uh-huh. Wow, that's critical actually.
And that is actually in, folks, you got to read this. You know, you're in Japan, you can listen to the audio book of it. It's not in Japanese, it's only in English.
Yeah,
But
somebody needs to translate that, like a Japanese.
Hiro, that's you.
Thank you very much. Well, yeah, pretty much answered.
Thank you.
Would you give us some like a message to Japanese people? Like the very serious thing will come. Seems like you know, most of the YouTubers are kind of like entertaining the like a market, and then they're not serious at all. They pick up like lately, like Trump showed some like a Nordic aliens like photos.
Yeah,
and stuff.
and that's why we do a show every day on my YouTube channel.
Right.
The LA Marzulli. You know, this is why we have films. And folks, you know, my message to the Japanese people, because I
Yes.
only have a few minutes with you, watch these. 99 cents for each film.
Exactly.
Watch these. It will educate you, because every film is an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. So the films are long. They're very involved, but it shows everything from close encounters of the first, second, third, and fourth kind, the abduction phenomena, cattle mutilations, crop circles, 2 films on Roswell. Finally, what is the truth? Where we sit down with people on both sides of the aisle. What do you think this phenomena is? And then we give our response, the Christian response. So all I can tell your audience and the Japanese people, do your homework, spend 99 cents for each film,
Right.
watch it, invite a bunch of friends over. Then it's even going to cost less than 99 cents. You can charge them admission.
Right. Anyway, in the future, I would like to invite you to Japan. You know, I'm just looking forward to it.
That's an honor. Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
But anyway, thank you very much, Eric. Like
Thank you,
your
Hiro.
time.
May the
So,
Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you so much.
thank you so much.
All
Okay.
right. Take care.